Welcome to The Roar, podcast for fans of the Detroit Lions. My name is Demetrius. With me, as always, the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward. We hope you enjoy today's podcast, and I'm already laughing because if you're listening, you might be a Lions fan, and I am not sure how you can enjoy it, but that is my hope that you enjoy the podcast. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, all the places. If you've been with us for a while, you know where to look. The key is if you're searching, you got to type The Roar Podcast, all three words. There's a lot of roar. There's a lot of different types of podcasts using that word. So you have to specifically type in the entire name of the pod. We are on Twitter at City Roar. And we have a Facebook page, right? The Roar Podcast. We will probably expand and do more things. City Roar, by the way, is because we wanted to use Motor City Roar to differentiate, and Twitter just cut off the motor. So still don't know how to explain that other than exactly what happened. So, wow. Week 1 of the 2020 season. Okay, so we're going to get, oh man, let's just, Bears 27, Lions 23, right? I'm already right out of the gate, like, what are we doing here? What is happening here? What did I just witness? All of those things kind of go through your mind. And I'm thinking right now, and I should have done the research. It would have been better if I knew the band and the year and all that stuff. But somewhere Chris is yelling it out. And you may not know it. There's this song, and back in the day, they used to do videos, in case you're young. Every song had a music video, right? There's this gesture, this motion, like you extend your arm out, palm up, and then you take your other arm and you put your hand in like a flat motion, in a flat position. And you start up at your like shoulder, and you kind of chop all the way down your arm, 3, 4, 5 chops, right? And there's this, I don't know the band or the year or any of that, but the song, if I'm not mistaken, is called Same As It Ever Was. And that's just this, I can picture just doing that gesture right now, because I almost considered just calling Mike and saying, listen, dust off last year's game where they led Arizona 24-6 in the fourth quarter, and just put some kind of filter in that changes Arizona to Chicago and Cardinals to Bears. You can damn near just post that for this week, because I don't even know what the terminology is. And so the point of this podcast, right, has always been, I've always said the same thing. Right now, the game ended about an hour ago. I looked up some stats and immediately sat down, because the expectation is probably that I'm mad, but that would be way too simple. That would be too easy. It's deeper than that. And you might know, if you're listening, you're probably a Lions fan, so you absolutely know. But I'm not like all Lions fans. All Lions fans aren't like me, or however you want to say that. We view this thing differently. We have different reasons, right? And later, Mike's going to throw some social media stuff at me, and you're going to hear a different kind of fan, right? And he's going to throw some questions at me. So we're going to cover the whole thing. My early thoughts are just, one of the things I did in the preseason pod was definitions. I talked about what cornbread is. I talked about Kool-Aid. I talked about RFR and Sports Talk Radio Guy. I talked about SOL, Same Old Lions, all the I forgot one, right? And I've told the story before last year on the podcast, so I won't go through the whole story. But the mentality of when you are up big and you just stomp on the neck of your opponent, it is the aggressive killer mentality that winning organizations that win championships and therefore have rooms in their stadium called trophy rooms, it's the mentality they have. So we call that trophy room mentality. The mentality of, to be great, sometimes you just got to squash the bug. Right? You got the bug, you got them lined up, got your foot in it, just crush the bug. Don't get paper and put them on a piece of paper and let them go outside and live, right? Because that bug's probably going to find you the next day and sting you, or a mosquito bite you. Well, that's how I feel about that. Trophy room mentality, I forgot last week. And of course, immediately critical week one, because I'm probably going to go a different direction than a lot of people. You're going to have your Stafford people who blame Stafford for everything. You're going to have that group that just wants Patricia fired, and they're going to do their thing. Not that it's unwarranted. The Stafford thing is unwarranted. The Patricia thing, not so much. And then you're going to have a group that's going to blame DeAndre Swift, which, yeah, fine. If you're short-sighted and you want to do that, there's nothing I can say, because technically, if he makes one play, the Lions win the game. If he does his job, the Lions. But it's not about a rookie. They're just, sometimes guys drop passes. It happens. It sucks that it happened with like 5 seconds left. And it basically cost him the game. But I'm not doing DeAndre Swift. We'll talk more about that later. But right now, for those of you who don't know, my super producer, my friend, my guy, Mike, is a Chicago kid. He's a grown man. He's a Chicago guy and a Bears fan. So I am going to hand over to Mike for a couple seconds, no pun intended, the microphone. And Mike, I want you to give me and the fine, brokenhearted Lions fans your basic thoughts on today's game. And your boy, all sarcasm there, guys. He does not like Mr. Trubisky. Give me your thoughts on the game in general and Trubisky specifically.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was really excited at the possibility of seeing a proven, I don't know, maybe the hype has died down a little bit since his Super Bowl MVP winning run, but I was excited to see Foles, man. Like, there's so many storylines going on in the Bears camp right now, and Foles was probably the one I was the most excited about. You pick up a former Super Bowl MVP, and you try to stoke this fire in this quarterback competition. Like, did you not learn? Like, what was the takeaway from last year? Like, we had there was the media coverage about the kicking competition, the kicker, the revolving door of kickers in training camp last year for the Bears. Like, did we not learn that lesson that you're making a circus out of it, and you're building up this storyline and this hype, and they announced they were going to send Trubisky out there game one, and first half of the game, I'm like, all right, this is the Mitch experiment has got to end. And I remember looking over at my little brother after the first half, and I'm just like, well, at least Demetrius is having a good time. And I was genuinely excited. Maybe not excited because, it's still, Bears are still my team, but like, genuinely happy for you, Demetrius. Generally just like, man, at least his Lions are going to do something. They're pounding on this Bears team. Like, it's to the point where I'm just kind of like, the Bears are so much of a joke to me that they went like 8-8 last year, and there's so much going on. There's so many storylines in the Bears in Hallis Hall right now that you got to laugh, because like they're touting themselves as this Super Bowl caliber team, and and maybe they had one good season. Maybe 2018 was a fluke. Who knows? Only time will tell. But oh man, I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, we got the win. Bears got the win, and at the end of the day, I still got to see Trubisky next week. That's the hardest part. I would almost say it's bittersweet. I still got to see Trubisky next week. If anything, if I learned anything from this week, I got to see Trubisky at least one more time. But yeah, we got the win.
Yeah, and honestly, at the end of the day, it does boil down to the very simple fact that you won the game, right? I could agree or disagree with all the things you said, but none of it matters. The Bears are 1-0, the Lions are 1-1. That game uh, should not have ended that way. We're gonna stay with our same format that we had last year. We made no serious format changes. We're gonna get into particulars. We're gonna talk about my favorite quarterback. We're gonna do highs and lows, 3 and out. We're gonna hit some social media stuff. And here's a guy, So we're sticking with the same format. And with that said, we'll close out this open and get right to the particulars. So as far as the particulars, I mean, they're deceiving because it was a balanced game. It wasn't, but it wasn't balanced all the way through, right? So both teams started slow. The Lions had 2-3 really productive drives late in the first half, early in the second half, where they looked like a seriously dominant team. The Lions started to get conservative, and then the fourth quarter, Trubisky caught fire. That's my short version of an analogy of the game. The particulars are simple. Total yards, Lions had 426, Bears 363. Relatively even, but the Lions had pretty good balance, which I like. They had 138 yards rushing. Adrian Peterson had 93 of those, plus maybe 20 receiving. So he had a solid overall yardage day because he had a couple catches. And the Bears had 149 yards rushing. So they ran sporadically, though. It felt like early they were moving the ball. And I imagine Montgomery led them in rushing. I didn't get specifics, but I'm going to guess he had 60, 70 yards, somewhere in there. The one turnover in the game, it was the fourth quarter interception by Stafford, incredibly costly, incredibly damaging. I will not defend him. I love the guy still. And that's not true. I am going to show him a ton of love later because that's just a part of the podcast. And if you've listened before, you know that. So don't act like you didn't expect it. That was a bad throw. It was a bad decision and a bad throw. And I always break down Stafford in that way. Like I said, those of you who've listened know there are bad decisions, and then there are just bad throws. And I try and separate them, explain and understand the difference between the two. Occasionally, there's both, right? He threw in the coverage, and then he had one of those deals where he says, I trust my arm. I can get this ball there. But even then, it was still a little bit behind him. So if the defender that actually made the play hadn't, I think his teammate would have picked it off. So the ball basically gets tipped up in the air because he threw in the double coverage. And I want to say he was trying to get Marvin on that play. Could have been Quintez Cephas, but I think it was Marvin. Tips up in the air. Kyle Fuller picks it off. Leads to the game-winning go-ahead touchdown. Ultimately game-winning go-ahead touchdown. So it's huge turnover, the only turnover of the game. Injuries were a big deal, right? I'm not going to make excuses. But I'm not going to sit here and act like injuries don't impact the game. I think that's weak RFR fan BS. I just want to bash Stafford or bash the Fords. So I'm going to pretend that not having Vitae didn't hurt because Tyrell Crosby didn't play that great. He had 2 penalties, and he didn't play horribly. Let me change that up. He played okay, right? But Vitae's better. That's why we signed him. I'm not going to act like not having Kenny Golladay doesn't impact the game, right? And there's a lot of guys dealing with hamstrings right now because it's sort of the way the season is kicking off with no preseason and the camp is odd. Across the league, you're seeing muscle tears. Just guys aren't stretched out, right? So Golladay misses the game because of a hamstring. Okuda misses the game because of a hamstring. Trufant hurts his hamstring in the game. I don't know how bad that is. How long we're going to lose him? Coleman got hurt in the game. So guess what, guys? Those are your 3 best corners. I'm sorry, I just mentioned your top 3 corners. Trufant, Okuda, and Coleman. So you're playing with Darryl Roberts and probably Oruwariye is my guess. And that's not to put those guys down. And Trey Flowers got hurt in the game. I think he came back, though. But let's not act like injuries don't matter. Now, that being said, I don't. Small piece, not the overwhelming piece, right? The Bears were missing Robert Quinn, who could have made an impact because, to be honest, they didn't get a lot of pressure. I mean, I didn't hear Khalil Mack's name get called. It's odd. Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't remember Khalil Mack's name even getting called. So I on the same side, I will say to you that not having Robert Quinn probably impacted what the Bears could do on the defensive line because the Lions probably rushed for 100, what's it, 140, 138, and those were good runs. I mean, Adrian Peterson was gashing them, right? And so Quinn, not having Robert Quinn didn't help them. But injuries are important. It's important to mention them. It's important to note because if you got Akuda and Trufant playing, does Trubisky catch fire? Do they break up some of those plays? I don't know how many of those are just talent plays where Anthony Miller or Robinson beat their defensive back, or I have a different theory that I'll get to as to why this continues to happen because I know this was eerily reminiscent of Arizona last year. And I feel like there were a couple other games where they led and the mentality changed, right? Trophy room came out of my mouth quite a bit last year. So that's unfortunate. Penalties impacted the game, certainly. I think that the Bears made a couple of dumb ones early, right? They had a roughing the passer that helped the Lions out. When the Lions were up 20-6, they had a defensive holding and a PI on back-to-back plays that moved the Lions in field goal position. Not happy to say that because that drive should have ended in a touchdown. It's a different game, but I'll get to that. But the most interesting play, and I'll give you my perspective on this play. So Jamie Collins, right? I'm sure you saw it. If you're listening to this, you probably watched the game. You probably saw it. What I think happened, and it's still dumb. It's dumb on literally everyone's part. Everyone was stupid. I believe that on the play that had just finished, Tariq Cohen lowered his head. He lowered his head as Collins was going for the tackle. I think what Collins wanted to do was to approach the ref and demonstrate what did I call him? Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen. Sorry, I feel like I mispronounced his name. Tariq Cohen lowered his head. And I think Jamie Collins wanted to simply demonstrate to the ref, hey, he dropped his head. And he did the motion and he didn't realize how close he was to the ref. Right? Now, that being said, he barely touched him. He barely touched him. This is the most. Now I get it. He's going to get fined. He might. I don't think they'll suspend him. I hope they don't suspend him. He's going to have to cut a check though, because the rule is quite simple and it's black and white. There's no debate. There's no wiggle room. You do not make contact with an official. Period. End of story. You do not. You do not. You could do a whole lot of stuff in this league. I mean, you can do drugs, you can own guns, you can get DUIs, you can do a lot of stuff. You cannot put your hands on a ref. You cannot make contact with a ref. And it's it. It actually becomes that simple. I certainly don't think he was trying to like headbutt the ref or he wanted to make it. He's been in the league too long to not know that. So this is not he had a brain lock and headbutted the ref. That's not some Ndamukong Suh crap, right? That's not what happened. He was trying to demonstrate what Tariq Cohen did, and he didn't realize how close he was to the ref. But it's stupid. Stupid on his part to not know that. Incredibly sensitive and idiotic of the ref to make a big deal out of it because the ref doesn't throw the flag. And because I think he apologized, or like threw his hands at me. He was like, I wasn't trying to hit you, bro. You know, that kind of thing. The ref could have used a degree of common sense and logic and handled that differently. But the simple rule, I mean, like really clear, no wiggle room is don't make contact with an official. And he did. And so I think all in all, from a particular standpoint, they don't tell the story of the game to me. I like this segment of the podcast because Later, I'm going to start talking about how I feel and what I think and my perspective. And the first thing I want to do is I don't want to get back there and go, oh, they dominated the running game. Well, they didn't. They had like 11 more rushing yards. So I immediately want to get to here are the actual stats for those people who I don't just like to straight cornbread this podcast. Well, yeah, I do. I would love to do that. I don't think it would be as entertaining if it is entertaining, and I don't think it would make a lot of sense. So I like to go over this stuff and say, okay, wait, what were the rushing yards? What happened here? Now I get to start getting more into sort of the stuff I like and giving you my perspective, how I see the game. So the one turnover was the biggest play of the game, or second biggest play of the game. I don't think many more of the stats really had much of an impact or that did much to determine the outcome of the game. The outcome of the game was determined by a number of things, which I'll get to. I almost jumped down a rabbit hole. We're going to move on to our next segment. We still have it. It's called The North. The North gets real easy today, so this will be a short segment. The good news is we don't have to spend a whole lot of time breaking down the North today because obviously I am breaking down in excruciating detail Bears-Lions and the other two teams in the North, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, played each other, and the game obviously was played at the same time as the Lions. So I can't give you a breakdown. I wouldn't anyway. I don't know that I'd care enough. There's other people for that. There's other places to go get that information. But the Packers won the game. Final was 43-34. I did the minimal amount of research possible to briefly describe this game on a podcast. And basically, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is salty about that first round drafting of a quarterback and maybe trying to make a point. Or maybe he's still good. I don't know. Because I didn't watch it. We'll find out next week. So, yeah, he had 364 yards and 4 touchdowns and 8 incompletions, by the way. I'm sorry, no, 12 incompletions, 32 of 44. That is not a bad day. That is not a bad day. I still hate his guts. I mean, that's probably never going to change. You can go back and listen to week 6 last year, or probably more emphatically week 17. If you are new to the show and wonder why do I hate Aaron Rodgers, there's a lot of reasons. Mostly he's just a horrible human being. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, the Packers get the win. I saw Thielen had a couple of touchdowns on the Minnesota side. It looked like Rodgers spread it out, and they had a balanced running game. I can't really tell you how the game broke down, though, and I have zero desire to do that anyway. So Packers get the win. We're going to talk more about them. Actually, we're not. We're playing them next week. I'll cover them a little bit later in the What's Next segment, but I don't really want to get into, I'm still, I'm not interested in talking about the Packers and the Vikings right now. So that's your North. Now it's time to talk about America's favorite quarterback, number 9, in the segment we like to call Stafford. I want to take the time to say I'm going to do my best to always be objective, right? He made it difficult last year because he had a phenomenal 8 games before he got hurt. I can be objective about Stafford. It doesn't seem like it if you listened last year, but I can. And today is an example of that, right? He did not play a good game today. He probably played a good game. He didn't play a great game. Here's the thing. Here's a weird thing, right? If Swift catches that pass, right, he's got 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his quarterback rating is close to 90, somewhere in the 88 range. That's not a bad game. That's a good game. It's not a great game, but that's a good game. But Swift did not make that catch. So the reality is that he was 24-42 for 297, a touchdown, and a hugely costly interception, and his quarterback rating is 77.2. That's the reality. Now, if you watch the game, there was a stretch late first half, early second half, where he looked like the guy who he was before he got hurt. I think he completed 8 or 9 straight passes, and he was making it look easy. He was moving in the pocket. He scrambled a couple of times. Some really good throws to Hawkinson. The touchdown throw. No, I think Swift, the touchdown throw was in the third quarter. Swift scored in the first half. He looked like Matthew Stafford, right? And I was excited because I was like, I said literally out loud, he looks like the dude he was before he got hurt. And now he had started slow, and then he finished slow. So the numbers are the numbers. The people that hate Stafford, this game isn't going to get you to like Stafford. And if you like Stafford, this game should make you hate Stafford. And if you absolutely love Stafford, like me, this is just a game, right? I will tell you this. I don't care who you are. If you blame Stafford for this loss, you're an idiot. I don't mind calling people idiots. I have no problem. Do what I want. Stafford didn't lose them this game, right? Now, I will say to you, he had a couple of bad overthrows where he does this thing sometimes where he just winds up, right? He's throwing straight smoke. The interception, too hard. He overthrew Cephas and maybe Marvin a couple times where he just wound up and threw smoke, flew over their heads or popped out of their hands. It was just too hard. That's just a dude getting excited. He's got a cannon, and sometimes he winds up. I will say that he did that. For that stretch I talked about, late second, early third quarter, he looked like the Hall of Famer I proclaim him to be. There were other times where, now some throws were pressure throws. They got some pressure, and he had to throw a screen into the ground, although I think there was a penalty on that play. He had to throw a couple off balance. All in all, this is a B-, C+ type game. And the truth is, he didn't go win them the game. No, he did. Kind of did, guys. If Swift catches the pass, I'm on here talking about those last 2 throws. The one to Amendola and the one to Swift. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Forget it. Stafford did everything he needed to do. Stafford did enough to win this game. I don't really care. He did, because if Swift catches that last pass, they win the game, and the entire perspective on his performance changes from one pass. That was a great throw, by the way. Perfectly thrown ball. And the whole perspective of his game, of it changes. But I'm sure when we get to the social media segment, Mike's going to drop some guy telling me Stafford's a bum. I'm already ready. I'm loading up the answer to that moron already because I know it's going to happen. But the truth is, he took a bad sack late in the game. The interception was bad. The interception was a bad decision and a bad throw, and I will not excuse him for those. But the truth is, those guys who say, hey, he never makes the big plays, if you don't know if there wasn't someone already called Captain Comeback, that would be his name. For years, he would bring them back in the fourth quarter. It was his calling card for years. So the idea that he doesn't have the capacity to do what he literally did today, he did it. And if Swift catches the ball, it's another comeback in Stafford's belt, right? It really is. I'm not going to sit here and say he played great. I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback in the league, because I never have. But I'm not going to let the morons say he's the reason they lost or blame him for the loss. That's not a part of the job just because he's a quarterback, because it's a team game, and he did everything he could for them to win this game today. He did everything possible for them to win this game today, and a number of other people let him down, let the team down. And I'm not talking about DeAndre Swift. I have DeAndre Swift in my fantasy football league. I'm quite happy with DeAndre Swift, and he's going to be a really good player. That's a blip on the radar. That's one game, that's one moment. And I'm sure somewhere right now, 2 hours after the game, DeAndre Swift is struggling. It's okay. It's okay, because he's a great player. He's going to be a great player. this will make him better. Having to deal with this is going to make him a better person and a better player. I have no doubt about that. But Matthew Stafford played a good enough game for the Lions to win, considering he had to overcome another horrible performance by his offensive coordinator and another horrible performance by a defense that I'm not going to rabbit hole. This is called Stafford. Bottom line on Stafford is he did enough for them to win. Yeah, he did enough for them to win. And if you disagree, you can disagree. I don't think I really care that much. But he did enough for them to win the game. That's the bottom line. So we're going to move on to this social media segment where I know how Mike does this. I'm getting ready. I know what's about to come. And I don't put it this way. Sometimes I respond to these and I don't know any of these people personally. Let's make that clear. So if I call somebody an idiot or a moron or I don't really know them. I am mostly speaking about my my feelings on their opinion, right? There's a difference between like what they post and who they are, because there are people who get off on just posting dumb shit, and they purposely do it to bother people like me, and it works. It works. I don't right now, 2 hours after this loss, sure it works. Mike's gonna say something, and I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna take a breath, but we all know how this goes. So, all right, Mike, let's do the social. What do we call this thing? Oh, hashtag one. I forgot the name of the segment. That's so great. I love the segment. Hashtag one pride. I'm kicking it to Mike for hashtag one pride. All right, here we go. So this is where Mike goes to the internet and pulls posts from, Lions Facebook page or any number of places, reactions to the game. We usually do a couple, maybe we do 3, and I give my reaction to the post. Now, for those of you who don't know me or you don't know Mike, Mike goes out of his way to stick the knife, right? Particularly on Bears Week, I wouldn't be surprised. So no, I shouldn't say that. Mike's my guy. He wants this to be entertaining, and I appreciate it. So all right, Mike, what you got?
So David says, this is like watching the Titanic over and over. At the end, the ship sinks.
Okay. Yeah. Safe driver saves 40%. I only saw that movie once, right? And I get it, right? Because we knew the story before they made the movie, right? So while I get what he's saying, and some part of me wants to go, no, it's not like that. They had a chance, and if Swift, blah, blah, blah. Nah. I knew it. I don't try and make myself sound smart, because clearly I probably wouldn't be a Lions fan if I was that smart. But when they were up 23-6, I verbally out loud to other people made reference to last year's opener, how they led Arizona 24-6 in the fourth quarter. I literally said it. This is not the time to get comfortable, because last year, so that could be Titanic-like in that I don't think I expected it though, because to that point, Stafford looked really good. And my thought was, keep doing what you're doing, right? I had not put the words trophy and room together in my mind yet, because the evidence wasn't there. And you like to think that everybody learned from last year. And I have this unbelievable love-hate relationship with our offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevell. There are times in almost every game where we look really, really sharp. I mean, there were 2 drives, middle second quarter, late second quarter, into the third. We looked like we were going to put our foot on their neck and stomp them out, and this was not going to be a close game. When it was 20-6 and we had the ball, I literally said, they have to score a touchdown. Not a field goal, they have to score a touchdown. And when they failed to do so, I recognized why, and I saw it. And I said, here we go. This is it. And there's something that happens in the play calling, and I don't inherently mean super conservative running dive plays. I said a lot of that last year. There was some of that, but those dive plays have been effective early in this game. And in this game, what I think happens is this. I'm not even saying I disagree with it, because there's a degree of it that makes sense. You're up 23-6 in the fourth quarter. Something in your mind says, we are now playing the clock. If we get 2 first downs, we can burn 4, 5, 6 minutes off the clock, 3 minutes, whatever. You start instead of just thinking we need to score and put our foot on their neck, you start thinking about, and I think you start making decisions about what plays you call around the clock. I saw it multiple times last year. This team does not play well from ahead. I literally don't want them to get a big lead at any point this year, because the worst version of this football team is when they're up 2 scores, up 3 scores. That's the worst version of our offense. And I don't want to believe it is the players are motivated because the game is close, and then they get up 17 points in the fourth and they relax, they take a breath. I don't think that's it, because I know you can't turn that on and off. If you could, anybody do it, right? I don't think you can just decide, I'm going to play hard now. I still think it's play calling, right? So to Mr. Falk's point, I wonder if that's the famous, there's a sports agent from like the 90s named David Falk, super good at his job and really famous. Interesting. He has a good point. there's a Titanic-like feeling, like when you see the boat starting to break in half, you know what's happening. You know it. Lions fans know it. If you listen to this podcast, you probably know what I'm talking about. But you know it. You see it and you think, yeah, this is, yeah. I hope Rose will share the door with me, or the wall, or whatever the heck that was. That was selfish of her, by the way. I'm not going to do that. There was enough room for both of them on that table. I don't know if it was a door or a table or whatever. There was enough room for both of them. Just saying, not to rabbit hole. Give me another one, Mike.
All right, so our second guy is another huge Stafford fan, and I say that with no sarcasm whatsoever. Kevin says, I've been watching his game for over a decade, and he can't deliver in big time in big games. Stafford has displayed through the years when the kitchen gets hot, he can't handle the heat. That's been his track record time and time again.
And there you go. And there you go. I knew he was going to do it. I knew it was going to be there. There's 50 of these on there. I'm sure Mike didn't have to work hard. Okay, let me take the breath. So, I think there's 3 options, right? This guy's blind, like literally does not possess the ability to see, and he's relying on somebody else telling him. 2, this guy's really stupid, right? He doesn't know how to process information and data. That's really stupid. And the third one is he's just a liar, right? He gets on and says, I'm going to type something I don't truly believe to be factual just to stir up trouble. Troll? Is that what a troll is, maybe? It could be all 3 of these. He could be like partially blind. He's probably stupid. And again, I don't know him, but I don't really worry about calling him stupid being offensive or out of line, because his dumb ass was the one who put the post up. So don't blame me. But I know that if he's not either of the first 2, he's just a liar. He's that guy, right? I talked about Sports Talk Radio guy. I talked about SOL guy. That guy who just, and probably in his life, he walks around saying outlandish crap just to get attention or to be outlandish. This is not true. Matthew Stafford has been one of the best pressure quarterbacks in the last decade. He has been one of the best, time and time again, as the moron said, comeback quarterbacks, pressure quarterbacks, stress level quarterbacks. He has played some of his best football when they were trailing or when they were in difficult. This is just nonsense. He takes the heat because the team doesn't win. This is one of those people, one of those social media post warriors. He's that dude, right? He's that dude. And he ignores facts and data and logic and reality and just does his thing. So the reality is I'm not gonna do it. I kind of already done it, right? I know who Matthew Stafford is. I know exactly who Matthew Stafford is. And if you're that guy who just wants to do that thing, then that's fine. You can be that guy. It's cool. But smart people, real people who understand the game, who watch the games, and who's not just a complete a-hole, we know you are in fact a complete a-hole because you show yourself to be. You can't compare him to other guys who play for other teams and who've won because it's a team game and you're holding him responsible. And yeah, I'm not really here for that. One more, Mike.
So another David, different David, says defense is horrible, no depth. Patricia is a clown as a coach and needs to go. Even if they had won this game, the Bears D is no joke, and Stafford did his job.
I can't argue. I mean, the clown thing is harsh, but we have a right to be, that kind of passionate. I just called some guy a moron. So, yeah, I can't push back though. The defense looks exactly like it did last year, really bad. Horrible is not out of line. I think the depth thing is completely accurate. You saw that in the corner situation. When we came into the game without Akuda, lost Coleman early, then when Trufant pulled his hammy, we were in trouble. That being said, if Swift makes the catch, we still win the game. So I might be at a point. That's 5 straight losses to the Bears. What do you want me to do? Now, the defense lost 10 of the 12 losses last year. I would put on the defense. Yeah, minimum 10, right? Just not making timely plays, not getting off the field on third down, getting smoked by Minnesota completely. You have to acknowledge that Stafford didn't play the second half, but the defense was ranked 31st in the league. You cannot get around that. You cannot explain that away. You cannot make excuses for that. Right? That is what it is. And today, and I get it. When I say I get it, I mean, I get what they want to do, what they're trying to do. A layman explanation would be bend but don't break. We've heard that before. I think that's absurd. When it works, it looks great. They had a couple of drives early with the Bears. They'll let you do anything between the 20s. And the idea is that sort of scheme locks you up in the red zone and forces you to kick a field goal. And it was working through 3 quarters. The Bears had a couple of field goals. The Lions put some touchdowns together. Now you have a 17-point lead. Through 3+ quarters, that's exactly how that's supposed to work. Now, that being said, they were running the ball relatively easily. Trubisky just played like crap early. That's all it was. Truthfully, Trubisky didn't play well. When he got hot, got confidence, just like both games last year, by the way. You can go back and watch both games last year the same way. He got hot. He's a streaky quarterback. He's a really good athlete, and he can make plays. I don't dislike Trubisky. I think I like Trubisky more than Mike likes Trubisky. But when you let him get hot, this is what happens. And I don't love saying 5th straight loss to the Bears. I don't. Last year, I did this. I did a long segment on scheme versus personnel, right? I'm not going to do it again, but he added like 5 or 6 players, and a few of them were expatriates. These were supposed to be players that fit the scheme. Again, I won't ignore the injuries. Can't ignore the injuries, but I'm not going to blame the injuries, right? That was not a good performance by the defense, not at all. So I think that I can't disagree with much of anything he said. I am very close to getting on the Patricia must go bandwagon. I'm still salty about Jim Caldwell, quite frankly. But I've been patient. Quinn is more my project. I focus more on Quinn. I think more about Quinn, and I don't know that this defensive scheme works. And I don't know if Corey Undlin is actually doing anything different than what Patricia did last year. You may as well pass Maloney. If you're just going to have a dude come in and run your system that doesn't work, why not? It doesn't matter. So it didn't work today. It looked a lot like last year. And quite frankly, Mr. Clark has a great point. And I'm glad we closed on that one as opposed to that second one. But thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. It's always dicey, the hashtag One Prize segment. because I kind of know what's coming, right? I kind of know what Mike's going to do, and I'm kind of prepared for at least one of those idiot statements, but then they still surprise me. Somehow it's like, wow, they still really say this stuff. People, I just don't understand. Posting nonsense makes no sense to me, but we're not jumping down that rabbit hole. We're going to move on to highs and lows. Yeah, so when we first decided to do this podcast and we sort of laid out the format, this was the segment I would be most excited about because I always felt like there are times in the games you see momentum changes, right? It's like a roller coaster and you can see moments and things that happen, and you would have people tend to boil a game down to one guy, one play, one moment. And I always thought that didn't make sense to me. I watched that entire game, watched literally every play of almost every Lions game over the past, I don't know, 15, 18, 20 years. And I always feel like that just doesn't make sense. I would remember a play from the first quarter that totally changed momentum, or a play that if they had done that. And so conceptually and play wise, there's so much. And last year I broke them up into concepts and then specific plays. And I'll do the same thing today. I'm going to focus more on plays though. But conceptually, it's repeat. I talked at the beginning of the pod about that old rock song, right? Same as it ever was. I hope that's the title. I don't know. I should have probably looked it up. But conceptually, on both sides of the ball, it was the same thing. It was the same as last year. It was eerily just like any other game. The defense was giving up plays, chunk plays. They were creating no pressure. I think Trey Flowers had a sack. I didn't look up the stat. Apologies, I probably should have. I don't think they had another sack. But more importantly, in the second half, they really weren't creating that much pressure. And that is, if you ask me, what is the biggest problem? Fix one thing with the Lions. They would somehow be able to pressure the quarterback. I don't care if it's from the edge or up the middle. I don't care if it's corner blitzes or zone blitzes or whatever. They need to find a way to put pressure on the other team's quarterback. And Tom Brady's on this schedule. Rodgers is on this schedule twice. Just go down the list of dudes on this schedule that are going to carve us up if we don't figure out a way to put pressure on the other team's quarterback. And this was just same as it ever was, doing that arm motion. Look up the old video, and you'll know the arm motion I'm talking about. That's what today was, concept-wise. And on the other side of the ball, we got up and we got conservative. I felt like we took our foot off their necks. Trophy room. I don't need to spend a lot of time concept-wise. Both sides of the ball. Defense, same as it ever was. Offense, same as it ever was. Got a lead, got conservative. And yeah, that's it. That's I'm not even gonna rabbit hole the concept part. Both sides of the ball looked freakishly like they did last year. And in case you don't remember, we won 3 games last year. We can't be just like last. Can't be same as it ever was. As it ever was 6-10 2 years ago and 3-12-1 last year. We need different. We need the opposite of same as it ever was. Maybe I do the other arm, or maybe I go up my arm instead of down my arm. We need something different. It can't continue to be same as it ever was. So from a concept standpoint, it's just, man. it's okay. I'm gonna go into some plays because there were plays, right? There were good plays and there were bad plays. Obviously, the good stuff was easy, right? And the defense got off the field when the Bears went for a 4th down early. I thought that was a big statement, right? If the Bears convert that score, it's a different day. The whole day is different, right? The drive in the second quarter that resulted in the Swift touchdown had a couple of big Hawkinson plays. Good throws by Stafford. Good to see Hawkinson involved. He probably had 5 or 6 catches maybe, but he was involved. You know, one of them was a touchdown, right? They had and then you had one of those classic defensive plays. The Bears had a 3rd and 10. They converted. Well, I mean, when they went up, everything changed. After 20, really 20-6, when they didn't convert a touchdown on that drive and kicked a field goal and made it 23-6, that was the moment. That was the momentum moment to me. Some people say the interception, no, or even that touchdown prior, no. That was the moment to me. If you score a touchdown and you go up 27-6, you're up 3 touchdowns. Now, the hindsight dude's going to say, well, they scored 3 touchdowns, would have been tied. But guess what? We wouldn't have been throwing with 11 seconds left at the 15-yard line. We'd have just kicked the field goal and went home. So don't try that. That was to me, the moment of the game was that. It was huge. Because Trubisky hadn't played well. He missed the touchdown to the tight end in the corner of the end zone. They had but then they had a 4th and 1, and they converted on I think it was a misdirection pitch to Patterson, who weirdly is just owns the Lions. Cordero Patterson, whether he was with the Vikings or the Bears, just does returns, and they put him in the backfield. Cordero Patterson's a oddly successful player against the Lions, right? Tracy Walker almost made the play of the game. He batted the ball down. If he picks it off, could be game might be over, right? They come back and the defense gets off the field and makes a great play. When Trubisky scrambles, ends up fumbling, loses like 30 yards. That's a big play. And then we had a 4-minute offense where we got the ball up 10, 23-13, 7-8 minutes left. And Peterson's running well. He has a couple of nice runs. And then we get tricky. And dumb mental plays, still don't love the play calling because Peterson is making those happen. We are trying to kill the clock with 8 minutes left. I get it. We're up 10. I don't think that's time enough. I don't think that's the time where you start doing that. I think you had already gotten too conservative and your momentum was gone. They had taken the momentum and scored. Now you were swimming upstream, in my opinion, at that point. I think you should have. And then there was this other stuff. With the touchdown, they scored with like 3 minutes left, which I think made it probably 23-20. Yeah. It was a simple rollout to his left, but it was easy. Guy was wide open. And he had a dumb encroachment penalty by Tavai. And I think they scored the game winner, the next one. You know, there were just some key plays in this game, where they did some things well, but mostly the play calling is a struggle for me. Now, all that being said, Swift catches that pass, it's a whole different deal. I'm not bashing the play calling because we win, right? And Stafford made a great throw to Amendola before that. Don't lose sight of that. And the throw to Swift was a great throw. It was a really good throw, right? But there's so much that happens in a game that there's all these momentum swings. Today was a game filled with them. There was 5, 6, 7 of these momentum swing moments. And I think that when you're up 20-6, if you put your foot on their neck and you score a touchdown, I think it's a different game. I think when they held the Lions to a field goal to make it 23-6 instead of a touchdown to make it 27-6, that was the momentum moment. You can't overlook Swift dropping the touchdown. I'm not forgetting that. The interception was huge too, obviously. The interception, at that point, I knew it was a wrap. I knew it was a wrap. Right. Probably before that, but they shouldn't have been in that position anyway. But that's a whole nother deal. So their momentum moments, conceptually, I didn't like how similar this game looked to 10 or 11 games last year. I liked what I saw from Peterson, of course, but we still need to figure out how we're going to do something different on offense to when we go up. That's the worst thing. I just hope every game is close. I'll keep it that simple on the offense. The defense, it doesn't look like anything has changed. They have fixed nothing. Maybe they'll say it's the injuries and getting a Kuda back and having a healthy complement of, and maybe Galladay made a difference, by the way, on offense. I don't think so because I thought Quintez Cephas showed himself well. I thought Hawkinson played well. I thought they ran the ball well. I'll take 140 and 300 from Stafford. I'll take 426 a game. That should be enough. But when you were up and you took your foot off their throats, you allowed the momentum to change. So So just some plays and some moments, and it could be as simple as if Swift catches the pass, they win the game. I might be overthinking all this. I don't know. But all right, I'm gonna move on now. We still have our segment called "Here's a Guy." There's some guys, not a lot. This won't be long, but there were some guys. So we're gonna move on to "Here's a Guy." So just as a reminder, this segment is really in a game, right? There's a guy, there's good guys, there's bad guys. As a Lions fan, for me, a great performance by a Bear is bad guy, right? So I like to point out guys, and sometimes they're subtle under the radar, sometimes they're obvious, right? To me, Hockenson is obvious. T.J. Hockenson played very well. He did. He made good catches. He made big catches. You see that he can be a weapon. You want your tight end, and he probably only had 60 yards or something, but he had big catches, the touchdown. You see what can be. You're just scratching the surface with TJ Hockenson, and I think that when you see the weapon he can be, for me, the Packers have to think about it, right? Wednesday in their meeting, they've got to say, hey, what are we going to do about Hockenson? Because he can be a difference maker. Now, assuming you get Galladay back, and Marvin Jones could have been more part of the offense today, but he wasn't. I think that was just probably without Galladay, they put a focus on him, is what I think. He still made a couple catches, but I think that using the backs better. I didn't love. My friend Art made a good point to me earlier and said, I don't. He loved the screenplay, the use of the screenplay. Screens are an interesting play. You can use it poorly, and it can be bad, right? But if you use it correctly, it could be a dangerous weapon. So I agree with Art that they didn't effectively use the screens today. But Hockenson was a guy today. I thought he was impactful to the game. This is going to sound weird because I don't think I said it once last year. And I'm going to clear my throat, take a sip of tea before I do this because I might not do it again all year. Taylor Decker played well today. That's mostly a joke. I knew Taylor Decker was a good player. In fact, I didn't really bash Taylor Decker last year. What I said multiple times was, I don't think Taylor Decker's right. Meaning I think Taylor Decker was playing through an injury last year. I will be honest with you, I don't remember hearing Khalil Mack's name called once today. I can't, maybe I missed some. I missed maybe. Khalil Mack didn't impact the game. And that's large part Taylor Decker. So I'm just going to be honest. Taylor Decker was a guy today because he was quiet. He didn't jump off sides. He didn't false start. He didn't hold. And I didn't hear Khalil Mack's name. That's a big deal because Khalil Mack can disrupt a game. Khalil Mack can dominate a game. Khalil Mack has dominated games against us. And somebody was doing that work, whether we heard about it or not. And to me, the best way, like refs, a tackle, the best game you can have is that nobody talked about you. We didn't talk about you. We didn't talk about holding. We didn't talk about your man sacking the quarterback. I think Taylor Decker played a really good football game today. And because of I was dancing on the line of unfairness with Taylor Decker last year, I'm going to give Taylor Decker his credit. I think Taylor Decker was a guy today. And if I get that Taylor Decker all year, where you're shutting down Khalil Mack and the other team's best pass rusher on a consistent basis, that's going to be nice. And I think he's healthy, and I still believe Taylor Decker was a good player last year. He got the bag. Secured the bag, sorry. Secure the bag is a player getting a new, really, really, really fat contract. That's for securing the bag. Got his bag of money, right? So Taylor Decker secured the bag. He got a 5-year extension, I want to say. And I don't know if securing the bag changed it. I still believe he was hurt last year. And, I mean, we can't ignore Adrian Peterson. Peterson signed, last Sunday, right? This has been around a week. And he rushed for 93 yards on, 14, 15 carries. It's like 6-something per carry. And he impacted the game. And he's only going to get better. He's going to get more familiar with the scheme. He's going to get more comfortable with his teammates. I love Kerryon, and I really like DeAndre Swift. Adrian Peterson might be the feature back. I don't know. A guy was Trubisky. The second half, the fourth quarter, Trubisky was a guy. He made the plays. right? He played like crap early. So here's a guy's a weird segment where you can get in the here's a guy segment for a short burst of really good play. It probably should be a much more deliberate segment that rewards people who have an impact on the whole game. Decker played well all day. Peterson played well all day. Hawkinson played well all day. Trubisky played well in a spurt, and he got his team a win, right? So that's a bad guy. My other bad guy, and this is a broken record, and I don't know how to figure this out yet, but Darrell Bevell. Darrell Bevell. You had a 23-6 lead. That's his job. I did a preseason pod, and I spent 35 minutes talking about Bob Quinn's job. What's Bob Quinn's job, whether he's good or not, the guys who did it before him, right? It's Darrell Bevell's job to make sure they win the game when they're up 23-6. Because if you're up 23-6, you've been doing something right. Now you could say, wait, the defense has just got to stop the other team. I don't believe that. I've never believed that. If you're up 23-6, that means, not trying to sound like a jerk, you're up 23-6. You got up 23-6. Somehow you were doing something right. And I believe, here's the thing, and this is not a backhand, no, this might be the definition of a backhanded compliment. I think Darrell Bevell is a really, really smart guy. I think he outsmarts himself. I think he's too smart. I think when you're up 23-6, you don't look at anything you haven't already seen. You just keep doing the stuff you were already doing because it worked. Because it's working. Why? I think Darrell Bevell is probably a good man. I always do the disclaimer. Good man, good father, good grandfather, all that stuff. I can start to build up a case that he has cost us games because we should 17 points isn't enough. Here's the new standard. Until you're up 30, don't even look at that side of it. Don't start doing this. There's never enough points, Darrell Bevell. There are never enough points. Period. End of story. Do not get cute. Do not outsmart yourself. Do not change anything until the clock says 0. Period. All right. We're gonna move on. Give me three and out, Mike. I forgot about the 3 and out segment. How much I like that one. I'm sure you have some good ones. So let's go on to 3 and out. Three and out is fun. Mike generally loads me up with some good ones. We try and make it slightly different than so it's going to come down to the same crap, right? But unfortunately, yeah, this is probably going to be the same as it ever was. But all right, Mike, what you got?
All right, we cooked up some blame pie. Tell me who gets a slice.
Yeah, so the blame pie is fun, right? Based on what I've been saying, you can probably guess, right? Or maybe not, because I don't think my blame pie would be the same as most people's blame pie. There's an easy blame pie that says, DeAndre Swift, make the catch, bro. You're a National Football League player. You got to make that catch. And I don't disagree with that. Yeah, that's not how my blame pie works. My blame pie goes like this. 50% of that pie is Darrell Bevell. I believe in this concept, guys, and I keep talking about it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's trophy room. There's a mentality that the Lions seem to be playing with in the second and third quarters specifically, whereas we're trying to steal your shirt, your socks, we're going to take your last piece of candy, and we might even steal your hat. We're trying to destroy you. It is a competition. And then something happens. And it's subtle, but I'm getting so much experience with it that I recognize it. I recognize it today. It was a second down play. I believe they were up 20-6. And on first down, I want to say they got 4 yards. I hope I'm not mixing up possessions. But the first moment I felt it, second down was either a busted play or it was an actual quarterback draw. But Stafford drops back, and then he just takes off running. And I don't get it, right? He gets 2 more. So I think it's 3rd and 3-ish. And I knew they weren't getting 3rd down. I knew it. Everything in me knew they're not getting this, and they're going to kick the field goal. Because I feel like at that point, when 2nd down fails and you're up 20-6, I believe Darrell Bevel's mind says, doesn't matter, we can get the field goal. That's it. That's the thing I'm talking about right there. That is the thing I'm talking about. When it says, okay, we're in field goal position. Because the fact that they're in field goal position impacts the play call on 3rd down. And this is all me. This is what I feel like I see, right? That's that moment. That moment when you run a play on 2nd down because you're already in field goal range and you're already up 14 and you know you can get the field goal. That's when you are not hungry. That's when you don't get a trophy room. That's when because the 2nd down play, I might go up top. Hawkinson is dominating this linebacker. Peterson is running all over. Maybe I try and get Peterson locked up on a linebacker. Maybe I take Marvin Hall deep. You know what I don't do? Is say to myself, it's cool, we're in field goal range. That's it. It is just that one little subtle thing, that one little moment where in his mind, he recognizes we're in field goal range. Because you've just pretty much given up 3rd down. And I feel like I see that. So 50% Bevel. Long answer, sorry. 30% Patricia and Unlin. Corey Unlin's the defense coordinator. First year, in case you don't know who he is. I'm going to probably bash him a lot this year. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to bash Patricia because I think Unlin is just trying to manage a system put in place by Patricia. 30% Patricia, Unlin. They have not figured it out. They have not figured it out. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. There are huge gaping holes in this zone. I call it a zone when I don't even know if it's a zone. I know that I see guys running free. There was a couple of good plays. They seem to be in man coverage when those plays happen. There were players making plays. I don't like the defensive scheme. Matt Patricia's probably a nice guy. I know nothing of Corey Unlin. I don't like the scheme. I didn't like it last year. Now I made an excuse for it and said they don't have the personnel they need. Well, they went out and got a bunch of personnel they liked, and I don't like it. But that leads me to 15% is injuries, right? There was no Jeff Okudah. Justin Coleman went down early. That really hurt. Coleman is a good player, and he plays a critical role, and that hurt, right? And then when Jamie Collins does the inexplicable and Desmond Trufant, you got 4 guys down, right? At the critical time in the game, they're missing 4 starters on defense. It's only 15%, so let's dial it back. 15% of it, though. But when they were up 23-6, and the defense came out on the field for the Bears' offensive possession, they were down 4 starters. Can't ignore that, right? Can't ignore that. The last 5%, right, is I can't just let DeAndre Swift off the hook. I'm not doing that, though. I am not here for that. There are a lot of reasons, right? But I can't completely let the guy off the hook. You got to make that catch. I mean, you make that catch, the game's over. There's literally 5 seconds left in the game. Game's over. They're not going to get in field goal range to kick a field unless Cordell Patterson takes one back 70, which is possible, but probably not likely. You got to make that catch. You got to make that catch. So 50% Bevel, 30% Patricia Unlin, 15% injuries, and 5% DeAndre Swift. What's next?
Okay. Who's your number 1 running back right now? Who do you take?
Great question. I like the committee, right? The reality is it's probably Adrian Peterson, which I like Kerryon Johnson so much, and I love DeAndre Swift. And I mean, Bo Scarborough's going to come back. I like the fact that they have a stable. So I'm not ducking the question. If you made me, or you're asking me right now. So the answer right now is Adrian Peterson. You can't average 6.6 yards carry and then not. They've got to give him 15 touches a game. So however you want to define number 1 back, I think Kerryon probably at 10 carries, 10, 12 carries. I think, and you want to try and find a way to work Swift into the offense more. You got to give Adrian Peterson 15 touches. Should have been ideal. You're up 17. Yeah, with Adrian Peterson, that should have been ideal. But they found a way to screw that up. Yeah, so the answer is Peterson today, with the knowledge that many, 1, 2, or 3 of them are going to get hurt. Kerryon's going to get hurt at some point. Peterson might get hurt. Swift has been nursing back, or might be a hammy. I don't know. He basically only had 2 practices last week. So you might see an increased workload from Swift, and it might end up Kerryon might be the odd man out, or they might just roll all 3 of them, sort of like they did today. That wasn't the reason for the loss. Actually, I didn't feel like they were ineffective running the football. I felt they lost their aggressiveness. So the answer to your question is Adrian Peterson, but I like the committee. I like the group. I like the room. I like the running back room. So, all right, one more.
What's your biggest concern coming out of game 1?
Same as it ever was. They do not have the ability to put pressure on the other team's quarterback, period. Whether you're up 23-6 or 0-0, if you don't make the game difficult for the other team's quarterback, that guy is an NFL quarterback. Even if his name is Mitch Trubisky, he's an NFL quarterback. And if you let him get comfortable, guess what? He's going to get comfortable. And when he gets comfortable, and you have 3 corners out, your top 3 corners are not in the game, this is what happens. You have to put pressure on the other team's quarterback. You got to find a way. Maybe you blitz. You do zone. You send corners. I don't know how you do it. This guy's a genius, right? He's supposedly a genius. Find a way. But it's same as last year. This looked eerily similar to last year. And I think if you don't find a way, I think I said earlier in the pod, if someone says, hey, I let you right now hit a button and you fix one thing about the Lions, you can fix one thing. I don't even mention Darrell Bevel. I would like to put pressure on the other team's quarterback. And if you're going to tell me that my top 3 corners are out, yeah, that's and you can't put pressure on. I think we had 1 sack. Like I said, I think Trey Flowers had a sack early. If you can't put pressure on the quarterback, eventually NFL caliber quarterbacks, whether it's Jameis Winston or the dude in Denver last year, or Kirk Cousins, or you got Rodgers twice, you got Brady, you got some top-notch guys coming, right? And you can't put pressure on them, it's going to be long. It's going to be long. The nonsense I said in the preseason pod about them possibly winning 10 games will be laughable by week 6, right? You have to figure out a way to put pressure on the quarterback. Maybe that was Jamie Collins' job today. I don't know. But my number 1 concern is the same as it was probably after every game last year. Let's hope they do something. So, I mean, yeah, we got to get pressure on the quarterback. That's enough of that. Thank you, Mike. Those are excellent. We're going to talk about what's next and close this thing out for week 1. So let's get to what's next. What's next? Well, it is the always pleasant trip to Lambeau Field. At least it's not December, which is great. We get the Packers early. So, in the spirit of cornbread, I would like to be excited and happy, but sometimes people, 1 + 1 just simply equals 2. There's no revelation. 1 + 1 literally equals 2. So the games at Lambeau, our top 3 corners are hurt as we speak. Okudah, Coleman, Trufant, all nursing leg injuries. 2 hammies and an ankle, or maybe a knee with Coleman, not sure. All our top 3 corners are nursing leg injuries. And Aaron Rodgers lit the Vikings' healthy defensive backfield up for 364 and 4 touchdowns. What do you think this podcast is going to be like next week? Yeah. Okay. If I can keep quoting my favorite commercial. Okay. Safe drivers save 40%. Yep. That's an inside joke. Sorry. That's, I don't even know. I don't want to predict. I don't do previews. I don't really have that in me. Not 2 hours after this loss to the Bears. If I did this podcast on Tuesday, I would say we're not going to get smoked. If I did it on Thursday, I'd have it a close game. If I did this thing next Sunday morning, I'd have us winning. That's how the process works. But the truth is, 1 + 1 sometimes just equals 2. So the good news is I get to open the microphone and bash Aaron Rodgers, which is just always fun. I'd do a podcast just on that if I have to. If they cancel the game, I'd still do a podcast and just bash him because I don't like him. In case you didn't know, in case you haven't listened and somehow missed it earlier. Yeah, I don't like him. I think he's a horrible human being. I do. And I don't say that about a lot of people. Well, not that many people. But I don't like him. And if I get nothing else out of doing podcasts on a Packer-Lions game, I get to bash Aaron Rodgers. So I will mostly look forward to that, trying to spend my week coming up with creative ways to bash him. And so I thank you for listening. Hopefully you made it through the whole thing. Some people bail out mid-podcast, they've told me. Yep, I heard that. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank my super producer, Mike Ward, as always. Look for us on the on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, where you get your podcasts, right? If you're listening, you know where to find us. Hopefully you got a subscription, right? And if you listen first time and you kind of liked it, just subscribe and you'll get the notifications. That makes it easier. Twitter is still at City Roar. Twitter is supposed to be at Motor City Roar, but it's not. It's just City Roar. And The Roar Podcast, Facebook or any other kind of search, you got to do all three. So we take ratings, reviews. If you just want to go to the Facebook page and bash me or bash Stafford, go right ahead. I mean, I'll see it and I'll call you out. But maybe you like that. I don't know. So as always, I'm really excited about the music this year. So I want to thank all of our contributors on the musical side. If you like it, check them out. Revel Day, Ed Mills, King Sis, Klinger, and Joby. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.